Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to review the real estate market analysis for Los Gatos, California for July of 2009. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified ePro. And in addition to that, I'm also the president and CEO of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services, sponsoring this market presentation. Now, if you'd like to get in contact with me, probably the first place to visit would be my website at www.soldbyrobert.com. While all my contact information is there, of course, you can also tune in to my weekly podcast on real estate, where we talk about all sorts of issues relating to real estate, from current market trends all the way down to news that might just influence how real estate's going to move in the future. You can also find on my website links to my articles that I've written in real estate and also ways to view the other market analysis videos I've created. Now, if you'd like to get in contact with me via email, just send those messages off to robert@soldbyrobert.com. If you'd prefer to talk to me directly via telephone, just dial 408-852-0525, or you can get in contact with me using a variety of different online message software applications. I'm up on AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, and Yahoo IM, screen named The Rebel Broker. And if you're a Skype user, my screen name on that is Rebel Broker. Now, referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate in Silicon Valley, please feel free to get in touch using any of the methods I've outlined above. I'd be happy to help you any way I can. But what's more, I can also help you if you're not in the Silicon Valley area or have no interest in California real estate at all. No matter where you are in the United States, I can go through the process of finding the right agent for you. So just get in contact with me, let me know what you're interested in, and I'll find the right professional for you. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the supply and demand numbers like we always do for Los Gatos of July of 2009. And the first thing we'll look at will be the inventory numbers. Now, the inventory was up 19.62%. That's 31 more homes on the market in July of 2009 than in July of 2008. That is not good news. It also tends to buck the trend of a lot of other communities. Many other communities are seeing pretty dramatic decreases in their inventory. I think what we're seeing are a couple of things. First, obviously, the down market has hit Los Gatos later than other areas. It's lagged about a year to a year and a half behind. But also, I think what we're seeing is that so much attention is being paid to areas that have higher incidence of short sales and foreclosures that a lot of folks are not shopping in the Los Gatos area. Los Gatos is not perceived as an area to get a lot of these great deals that people believe are out there for short sales and foreclosures. So we're just not seeing much attention spent there. Now, in other areas where we're seeing conventional sales increasing, the idea there is that, and these are areas that have a lot of short sales and foreclosures, the idea there is that buyers are getting frustrated with the short sale and foreclosure processes and end up buying properties in the same areas where these short sales and foreclosures were anyway. At least that's been some of my anecdotal experience. Now, as I mentioned, the inventory is up 19.62%. The total homes on the market in Los Gatos in July of 2009 was 189. As far as new listings are concerned, we can see that also rose a bit. That was actually up 5.88%. That's 4 more homes listed in the month of July of 2009 than the month of July in 2008. And just to remind everyone, this is just July. This is not looking straight back month to month. This is just different years going all the way back to 1999. So we don't have seasonal influences here. These are July performance numbers going all the way back to 1999. So don't get confused thinking you need to try and figure out what effect winter or summer or anything is having on these numbers, because this is just 1 month performance. Now, the total number of homes listed was 72. And if we take a look at the sales numbers, we can actually see at least some good news in terms of sales. Now, it's not great news, but it's not horrible. It's at least an increase, which is good. And since this is July, we would expect July numbers to be up when compared to surrounding months. But for the month of July, this actually isn't bad. Our sales numbers are a little bit higher than they were last year. We're actually up 15.38%. That means we sold 4 more homes in the month of July in 2009 than we did in 2008. That gave us a grand total of 30 homes sold. So that's good news. That's something that we can at least be a little bit happy about, but we sure are not taking care of those inventory numbers. Those are still a little bit too high. Now, if we look at how many months worth of inventory we have on hand, it really hasn't changed much since last month. This month we sit at 6.3 months of inventory on hand. Now, the other way to think of this number is sort of as a seller's competition index. If you're trying to get your home sold, there are about 6.3 homes on the market for every one that's getting sold. So if you're a seller, each month you're fighting with 6 other homes to get sold. Now, last month that number stood at 6.34. So while it's gone down a little bit, I wouldn't want to call that a trend yet. I wouldn't want to call any of this a trend yet because we deal with such small numbers on a month-to-month basis with Los Gatos. And that can sometimes give us some interesting skews on a month-to-month basis. Now, the ratio for the county, just to sort of calibrate you to how Los Gatos is performing to the county in general, the ratio for the county for the month of July was 3.01. So we only have 3 months worth of inventory on average in Silicon Valley. Last month that was at 3.45, so the month has really gotten the numbers for the county in general on average have gotten a lot better. Well, we haven't seen that same sort of improvement in Los Gatos. In fact, in general, Los Gatos is underperforming the county in general in terms of these statistics as far as inventory, listings, and solds. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the same numbers, supply and demand numbers. But now we're just looking straight back all the way to March of 2008. Sort of give us an idea. Hopefully we can draw some conclusions from this, see where we might be going in the coming months. As you can see, the inventory numbers are generally trending up. We do see some seasonal changes here, of course, in the wintertime. That December is obviously usually our lowest point as folks take their homes off of the market. Now, inventory from June to July increased 2.72%. That's 5 more homes on the market. Now, how did we do last year? Was that the same thing that happened last year? Well, no. Last year we actually saw inventory decrease between June and July, and that's normally what you'd expect. From right around April, you usually expect to see the inventory steadily decreasing as we head through the summer months. Now, what's interesting is that last year we actually saw then a dramatic increase in inventory in Los Gatos. That's not seasonally typical. I mean, we usually don't see such a big jump and then a big drop when we hit winter. We usually expect our drop in winter, but we usually don't see that big boost right after the summer months. So I think a lot of folks were trying to jump in and take advantage of what they perceived as perhaps a better market in Los Gatos. If people had been thinking about selling, they may have seen that prices were going to be going down and wanted to take advantage of whatever price point they thought they could get now. Now, as I mentioned, inventory is up 2.72%. That's 5 more homes in inventory in July of 2009 than June of 2009. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the total number of homes that were listed. That jumped dramatically in July. It could be for the same reasons we saw a boost last year in September and October. A lot of folks perceiving that perhaps from here out things are not going to be getting better as far as sellers having an easy time getting a property sold. Now, the number of homes that were listed for sale increased 33.33%. That is 18 more homes up on the market or added to the market in July of 2009 than in June of 2009. Let's see what we've got here as far as sales numbers. You can see the sales numbers really stayed relatively flat. Now, statistically, we did get a 3.45% increase, but that only represents 1 additional home sold. So we only sold 1 more home in July than we did in June. You can see last year we had a pretty big decline. We got an early season in Los Gatos last year. May and June were big, and then we had a decrease in July and August and September, and then from there really just bottomed out through the winter months. If you'll notice the difference here now, May was the peak last year. May was actually more of a downturn period. We've had a much slower ramp up in Los Gatos, and it looks like we're probably getting our peak right about now. So usually after this point in July, we would expect to see the number of homes sold per month decreasing. So I wouldn't expect, if you're a seller out there looking at getting your home sold, I think you may have missed your opportunity to get that done. You may want to see if you can just hold on until the market makes a recovery, but that could be an awfully long time. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the short sales and foreclosures numbers. We'll go ahead and look at what's been going on this month first. Now, we had 0 foreclosures and 7% of the properties that sold were short sales. So that's actually a pretty good performance, giving us conventional sales making up the vast majority of the market. That shows the general health financially of I think the folks living in Los Gatos. Los Gatos enjoyed a very nice increase even during the down times. So values are still there, but the problem for us, I think, is double-edged. While we've got this great dominance of the conventional sales market going on here in Los Gatos, that I think that's playing into the fact that we just don't have a lot of buyers poking around in Los Gatos. Frankly, while these numbers aren't great in general for Los Gatos, I think this core level of health in the long term will work out better for Los Gatos. While we're in a downturn now, we'll see these inventory numbers increase. Prices will have to come down. That may push more properties into short sale and foreclosure situations. I'd rather not see that, but I think it's inevitable that to bring this inventory down, one of two things is going to happen. Either a lot of people are going to have to decide I'm not going to sell my house and take it off the market and get this inventory down, or people are going to have to realize if I want to get this property sold, I have to lower the price. And that's really the only options available. Unfortunately, the folks who may be in the worst position right now are folks who purchased in the last 18 months or so, simply because those folks are probably underwater at this point. But we'll take a closer look at sales prices coming up here in a minute. Now, again, last month, short sales stood at 0. Foreclosures were 10% of the total number of homes sold. So last month, we had 90% of the homes sold conventionally. Again, we do get such small numbers, such a small sample size here in Los Gatos that don't take any of these as hard trends. We really need to look at these things over longer periods of time to see exactly whether or not these are trends that are pointing towards the future or whether they're just one-offs for the month. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our home prices. Of course, that's the next most important thing folks are concerned about. And you can see, of course, that we've had to decrease the prices of homes now since 2007. We had a fairly minor, the level of decrease in between 2007 and 2008 wasn't that bad. In fact, the difference in what went down between 2007 and 2008 wasn't even as great as the increase between 2006 and 2007. The decrease between 2008 and 2009 is more dramatic. You can see we steadily ramped up all the way up to 2007, but that drop from 2008 to 2009 was pretty big. Now, the average home price went down 12.08% between 2008 and 2009 for the month of July. That was a $180,239 drop, with the average home price being $1,302,413. So what does this tell us? Well, I think there's two ways to really look at this. First of all, yes, values are down in Los Gatos on average. But I think the other thing it tells us is that because we've seen these prices drop to where they are, unlike a lot of other communities that really, really couldn't come to grips with the fact that property values were down, Los Gatos seems to have realized it. And sellers are obviously, because the homes that are selling are selling at this level compared to last year, have obviously realized that their asking prices need to come down. We're still seeing plenty of activity even at the highest levels, but you just need to be the biggest bang for the buck at your price level. So in other words, if you've got a $2 to $3 million house, you can get that sold, but you just need to be the best $2 to $3 million house out there. So it's not that there aren't folks shopping at those levels. You just need to be the dazzler. You need to be the one that really stands out from the rest at that price point. Now, the median price change is really on par with this change in the average home price that was down 14.66%, a $197,500 change from the same time last year, with a median price holding at $1,150,000. So that tells us that when compared to the average, the majority, more than the majority of homes were focused or huddled below the average price. And if you look back in 2007, you can see that was a bit reversed. The majority of homes sold above the average price back in 2007. Now, the highest price home in Los Gatos was at 289 Mountain Laurel Lane. That home sold reportedly for $2,999,950. Now, I say reportedly because the official number isn't actually entered. This is the second time this has happened in this community, so it's a little bit strange. The property was originally listed for $3,699,950. Now, what's interesting is that, again, that's not what mainstream statistics are going to report to you about this property. The mainstream data that comes out that the national folks and the state folks are going to look at will say that home sold theoretically for asking price. They'll also tell you that price sold supposedly in 170 days. Well, the reality is that it was taken off the market for the winter months last year, so for 2 months. What that resulted in was resetting the asking price and the days on market. So if we want to get into the real numbers, it actually is far more than that. It's more than 365 days. The home was originally listed in March of 2007 and was up for sale just about all that time except for that 2-month period of time that separated the numbers from one another. So the reality is these folks probably had to take about $1 million discount on the property. I'm not sure why the actual number hasn't been reported to the multiple listing service yet, but that would be my guess. But again, this is a $2 to $3 million home. So you can see that there's activity at this level. It's really just a question, again, of the value you bring at your price level. Now, the lowest priced home was at 16860 Quarry Road. That home sold for $625,000. The list price is reported as $599,000. And again, that's a little bit misleading. It was relisted during the middle of the listing. So the original list price was not $599,000. The original list price was $819,000. And it was on the market for 447 days. That's correct. It seems that depending on how long you take your home off the market, in some cases the length appears to be different between what your list price is and what the days on market number is. So in other words, if you take it off for a certain number of days, you can lose the connection to what the previous list price was. And if it's a little longer than that, you can lose the connection to days on market. So again, the numbers that are going to get reported, the amount that people are going to tell you statistically you have to take below asking price is going to be off. If they're basing it on the numbers that come from the MLS, that come from these state organizations, and they tell you that the average person is only having to take, say, 8%, 10% below asking price, that's not accurate. At least it isn't for the community of Los Gatos right now. Also, I'd like to point out that the home on Quarry Road was a short sale. So obviously that property dropped way below what the home was originally sold for. Now, the average price per square foot for July of 2009 was $595.11. Last month's average was $528.51. So we actually had the average price per square foot increase despite the fact we had average prices decrease. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the same data, but we're going to look at just previous months now. So we're not just looking at July, we're looking all the way back. And you can see that the trend line there is showing us that both of these things are trending down. And that's really the main thing you want to take here. Because again, the amount of data here is smaller, so a lot of times you can't get reliable short-term data here. But we've got a nice spread here. You can see where things are sort of heading. You can see that we have a pretty big separation between the average price and the median price this particular month, which tells us there were a couple of higher-priced homes really that are kind of skewed that average price up a bit. Now, the average home price, as I mentioned before, was $1,312,413. The percentage price change from June to July was an increase of 21.26%. That's a dollar change of $230,062. The median price stood at $1,150,000 with a change of 6.48%, an increase of 6.48%. So look at that difference. While average price increased 21.26%, median price only increased 6.48%. So while and that gave us a $70,000 increase in the median price. So basically what we see here is a situation where while the median price did go up as well, and the median price is really just the line that gets drawn at the 50 percentile mark. So in other words, half the homes that sold above $1,150,000, and half the homes that sold below $1,150,000. And again, we had 30 homes total that sold in Los Gatos in the month of July for 2009. Well, let's take a look at the days to sell. Let's see how long it's taking folks to get homes sold. This is just the month of July. Let's see how this is doing now. For 2009, for July, it's taking about 89 days for a home to get sold. That's an increase of 21.92%. That's 16 more days to get a home sold in July of 2009 than at the same time last year. And you can see that steady increase. Is that a realistic number for sellers to calibrate themselves to? I think that it is. We'll talk a little bit about the breakup so you can get an idea because often this can be a little bit misleading. How long it's taking you to get your home sold is really a huge function of the person that you have out there working to get it sold. And also how much faith you have in what they've told you as far as how you should be pricing it and those types of things. I think in this market right now, the biggest challenge for sellers is accepting honest and professional assessments of the right price for their home. You need to get a real estate professional, someone that you trust, and someone whose data you're going to trust, because once they tell you this is what it's going to take to get your home sold in a certain period of time, you need to go for it. But they need to back it up with data. If they just shake their head and say sure to whatever price you put out there to get your home sold, be a little concerned. Be just as worried when an agent agrees with you quickly as when they do anything else. The bottom line here is that you need to be able to look at the competition out there and say, you know what? At the price point I want to sell this house at, there are 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 other homes out there that in just cold, hard honesty have better features than my home does, or offer more. And you need to be able to A, honestly accept that input from your real estate agent when they provide it, and B, try to internalize that, try to put on the hat of a buyer and realize that if you're going to spend $1 million on a house, I want more rather than less. And that's really what a lot of folks are looking at. So you need to take into account that situation and price accordingly. And price according to how long you have to wait. If you don't have 90 days to wait, you really need to aggressively price. And your agent needs to aggressively market. So I hope that helps. I know it's tough for some folks out there, but you really have to be as honest with yourself as possible. Now, the lowest days on market was 0. We actually had 2 properties that sold before they were put onto the multiple listing service. I'm always a little bit suspicious of those. I'm not sure why anyone would want to do a pocket listing with an office, and basically what that means is it's a listing that does not go onto the MLS. But because of how brokers work, if you have a listing that you sell through your office without putting it on the multiple listing service, once you sell it, you usually put it into the multiple listing service so that those numbers can be used for statistical analysis purposes. Now, the longest days on market was 447 days. With the next closest being 274 days. The homes sold before they were put into the multiple listing service was 2, as I mentioned before. We had 3 homes that sold in the first 1 to 7 days. We had 5 homes that sold in 8 to 30 days. 8 homes that sold in 31 to 90 days. Excuse me. 8 homes that sold in 91 to 180 days. And 4 homes that sold in over 180 days. Now, just to sort of break that down a little bit, 33% of the homes that sold in 30 days or less. Last month's homes sold in 30 days or less was 17%. So we've seen a lot more of these homes selling relatively quickly, which basically tells you that a lot of the homes that are currently on the market, since fully a third of the homes that sold were relatively new listings. They were on the market less than 30 days. We're sort of getting an accumulation of inventory, and that's usually not a good thing. That means that 2/3 of these properties have been on the market for over 30 days that sold. And usually in our inventory, the general inventory, the stuff that hasn't sold, we're collecting more and more stale inventory, because really we've only seen inventory ramp up and up and up as each month has passed. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the days to sell just over past months. Let's see if we can figure out anything good from this. Again, just a steady increase. We see a few very dramatic increases or very dramatic drops. Again, it's primarily because we just have such a small sampling of homes that sell. October is a perfect example. We had just a couple of homes sell. Again, I think the numbers we're seeing this month are fairly realistic. I don't think there's things completely out of whack. But the honest answer is that 89 days would actually be a little bit longer if some of these homes that sold had not been relisted. We would have had another home that had well over 365 days. Probably the one that I mentioned earlier, the one that reported only 170 days, but in reality had been listed in March of 2007. That property probably would have been the highest days on market, if not for the fact that it had been relisted. So I think this 89-day number is actually a little low. But again, if you're out there doing the right things, I think a 30 to 60-day listing period is perfectly reasonable as an expectation if it's all being done right. If your numbers are good, you're being honest with yourself and your agents being honest with you, I think all of that's perfectly reasonable. Now, the change in days on market between June and July was actually a decrease of 13.59%. Data shows us that was 14 days less than last month. And let's go ahead and take a look at where these properties were located in Los Gatos. Again, no giant trends here or any changes in typical trends. It all looks pretty typical, frankly, for Los Gatos. A couple of properties right downtown that have finally sold that have been on the market for a while. And then a few out in the further reaches of Los Gatos. But in general, nothing here that I think gives us any trends that we can lock onto. And this map is courtesy of Bing.com and the Microsoft Corporation. Now, I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say on all these topics. I'm not going to go ahead and read through all of the ways to get in touch with me again. I'll just present it all here so that if you're interested in jotting it down or getting in touch, it's all right here at your fingertips. And of course, referrals are always appreciated. Please get in contact with me if you need any help in the area of real estate, or if you just like to talk about real estate in general. I'm happy to discuss it with you. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you all next time.